The topic of the month for July 2018 is Fly the Aircraft First. In this presentation, we'll talk a little bit about distractions and how they contribute to accidents. We'll look at some recommendations from a work group that studies loss of control. We'll offer a few tips and tricks to help you manage distractions in flight. On 29 December 1972, Eastern Airlines Flight 401, Lockheed L-1011, was scheduled to fly from JFK in New York to Miami International Airport in Florida. 3 flight crew and 1 non-revenue company employee were in the cockpit as the flight began the approach to Miami. After extending the landing gear on final approach, the first officer noticed the nose wheel down and locked light was not illuminated. The approach was aborted and the aircraft entered a 2,000-foot holding pattern west of the airport. The crew engaged the autopilot while all 4 cockpit occupants engaged in troubleshooting the problem. When the autopilot was engaged, it was inadvertently placed in control wheel steering CWS mode. In this mode, the airplane would maintain the attitude last commanded by the pilot. One of the pilots, most likely the captain, bumped the control column as he turned to speak with the flight engineer. The airplane was placed in a shallow descent that was maintained all the way to the ground. 4 professional aviators, any one of whom could have detected the descent, were so focused on a non-critical task that they failed to detect and arrest the descent. We've all heard it many times. When your flight plan is unraveling and you're trying to decide where to go and how to get there while dealing with passengers and ATC, the most important thing to do is always, that's right, fly the airplane. Expressed another way, the 3 things pilots must do in order of priority are aviate, maintain aircraft control at all times, navigate, manage navigation systems and tasks, including fuel reserves, communicate with passengers and ATC. That's good advice. Loss of control is the number 1 cause of fatal aircraft accidents. It doesn't matter if we're navigating and communicating perfectly if we lose control of the aircraft and crash. That's why the General Aviation Joint Steering Committee recommends this awareness-raising program. I know we all talk the fly the aircraft first talk, but can we walk the talk? By that we mean, of course, are we really prepared to fly the airplane under high stress to a safe, perhaps off-airport landing? The pilot of this aircraft had a total engine failure, mechanical, not fuel-related, while en route at low altitude in Alaska, ANC 13LA085. Navigation was simple. We'll be on the ground in a minute or 2, well before we can get anything that even remotely resembles an airport. Communication was also simple. There was no one within radio range to talk to. We're not likely to be as successful as this pilot unless we think about what we're going to do in various possible emergency situations and unless we prepare to deal with problems. How do we prepare for problems? Well, we make sure we know our performance numbers, including best power-off glide speed for the aircraft and environment we're going to fly in. We have a good weather brief, and we update along the route so we always know where the best weather is. We plan and brief each takeoff, approach, and landing to include climb and descent expectations, go, no-go points, escape routes, and alternates. En route, we keep within gliding distance of suitable landing areas for as much of the flight as possible, and we practice emergency procedures, short and soft field takeoffs and landings, and power-off approaches and landings. It's important to practice these maneuvers at our expected mission weight. An aircraft with a solo pilot and half tanks performs much better than one at close to max gross weight. Pilots need to be comfortable at the higher weights in order to be successful in real emergencies. Passengers, and in some cases animals, have been known to provide fatal distractions, so pilots must set expectations before flight. In addition to the standard seatbelts, exits, and emergency equipment brief, take some time to explain your role and theirs. Insist on a sterile cockpit No conversation that is not directly related to safety of flight during critical times. Give your passengers a job to do, such as scanning for traffic. We know of one pilot who pays his kids $1 for each aircraft they spot before he does. After one flight alone, he had to visit an ATM to pay off his debt. When your workload is increasing, by all means use the autopilot if you have one. Practice with and without the autopilot. If you never use the autopilot, you won't have confidence in it while dealing with an emergency. If you always use the autopilot, you won't have the confidence in yourself. One more caveat here. Don't engage altitude hold if you're in significant turbulence. Basic wing leveling is what you want. That way, the autopilot won't overstress the airplane or disengage while trying to maintain altitude. And finally, seek regular proficiency training with your CFI. Finally, here are some reading resources for you to consider. Chapter 16 of the Airplane Flying Handbook deals with emergency procedures, and Chapter 6 of the Risk Management Handbook discusses single pilot resource management. Please direct any questions to your local FAST team representative. Narration by Bradford Wood, National Outreach Manager. There's nothing like the feeling you get when you know you're playing your A game, and in order to do that, you need a good coach. So fly regularly with a CFI who will challenge you to review what you know, explore new horizons, and to always do your best. Of course, you'll have to dedicate time and money to your proficiency program, but it's well worth it for the peace of mind that comes with confidence. Vince Lombardi, the famous football coach, said, "Practice does not make perfect. Only perfect practice makes perfect." For pilots, that means flying with precision. On course, on altitude, on speed, all the time. Be sure to document your achievement in the Wings Proficiency Program. It's a great way to stay on top of your game and keep your flight review current. Your presence here shows that you are a vital member of our general aviation safety community. The high standards you keep and the examples you set are a great credit to you and to GA. Thank you for attending.